Hello, hello. I think we're live in this call, and I'm happy to welcome you all to Swarm Community Call, which is a monthly open call for developers, node operators, and the wider community around Swarm, happening every last Thursday of the month, broadcast to X and YouTube as well. If you'd like to ask a question during the call or later, please head to Swarm's Discord service and use stage chat to post your questions. We'll pick it up, we'll answer it, if not live during this call later when it finishes. In today's April's edition, the agenda will not be as usual. So this month's call will instead be almost entirely dedicated to providing you a report from the Swarm Accelerator Hack Week that took place last week in Budapest. And then in the end, we'll also look at what's coming up next on the events front. Okay, excuse me, let's kick things off. Swarm Accelerator Hack Week, what is that? So this was by invitation only event with participants from the Swarm team, from Solarpunk team, as well as many other external guests who are familiar with Swarm, worked or have worked on particular integrations in the past. And they all gathered in real life in Budapest for a week of intensive work. The project covered a really widespread from a native browser for the decentralized web, even a mobile version of it, to a new model for storage capacity that behaves more like a predictable reservation than a slowly expiring prepaid badge, to agent data exchange with payments, granular access control and identity, to food traceability systems. Now that's as real life use cases go, to improved chat-based interfaces for managing stamps and files, to new notification and messaging layers for Lightnode users, and even work on email and Ethereum data access through Swarm. So what ties all these efforts together? And in a way, they are all exploring what still needs to exist around the protocol foundations for Swarm to become easier to access. Today, we'll hear from some of the people who helped shape the week and from some of the builders behind the projects themselves. And the goal here today is not to go deep into implementation details, but to understand what they were trying to solve, why they thought it mattered, and what these experiments may be pointing toward. I will now bring to the stage or pass the microphone to Sandor, Swarm Foundation's COO, to provide us with the overview. Sandor, can we hear us?
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Oh, hi. So Sandor, Hack Week really brought together projects that look very different on the surface, but many of them seem to circle around the issue of usability, making existing Swarm capabilities easier to access, to coordinate, to apply. Would you agree that the Hack Week proved basically that we're kind of past the point of Swarm? Can Swarm do this? What can Swarm do? And we're at the next stage of how could people actually use and compose it without too much friction?
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And we proved and we got to a stage where there are more and more types of applications working. And I'm really amazed with what the Hack Week has brought to us. I was looking forward to it and I saw the excitement. There were several projects sort of proposed, and some of them are really, really cool and takes Swarm to a level where a lot of different types of applications could be built on top of it.
So do you see that the main strategic value of the Hack Week would be identifying the missing middle layers around Swarm?
Yeah, in terms of how people can access it and providing more usability to applications and end users, absolutely.
So has the Hack Week kind of changed how you think about what Swarm is becoming or what people most need from it next?
No, actually not. It hasn't changed my opinion. I was reinforced that Swarm is very, very capable, and it has become the true backend of Web3. Just mentioning a couple of projects like the notification system that has been put in place, or the AI data marketplace that was kind of like a future goal for us, and these amazing guys just put it together in 4 days in a working demo where AI agents are exchanging data that are
I have to say that also to me, I wasn't there in real life with the guys. I have to say that as a disclaimer here, but I did follow obviously the presentations, your reports, and it seemed incredible at what the teams achieved in such a short amount of time. Actually, I mean, I'm not sure if that's on account of obviously also using AI helpers to kind of accelerate the code writing. But I mean, overall, it's been such a huge contribution from all of the teams, as far as I could see.
Exactly. Like, another example is the collaborative document editing that, as you might know, many people have tried, many projects have tried, and some of them are suffering, losing data. And this is pretty amazing that we could add the final missing bit, which is the notification system, and that also helps with our chat solution that we have. It's going to be much more efficient and usable and fast.
Definitely. We also have here in the call with us Andras, and Andras was actually the person very much responsible for what exactly were the projects that were hacked on during the Hack Weeks. Can we hear your view, Andras, on like why these particular projects? What was the idea behind some of them?
Sure. Hi, Mina. Hi, everyone.
Hey,
So
hey.
yeah, it was a small team of us. So there was a small committee that we kind of like were helping kind of assess the project ideas. So there was a kind of a period where we were accepting ideas from the all over, like from the teams and all the ecosystem partners, and anyone could bring in an idea, and then we were looking through them, and then we saw, I would say the biggest strength was the diversity. So it really proved, I think, also to me, but for everyone, that like you can build such diverse and actually real life working projects on Swarm. So we tried to keep that in focus, and also we were trying to kind of promote projects which are useful in a sense. So like that will prove like how you can actually use a Swarm for a real life use case. And I think technically all of the projects are really proven that, and I think they're like all of them are a good seed to build on. Like most of them can be pushed into real life products and then bringing them to a production ready like solution. And that's the aim here also, and that's why we also call it Swarm Accelerator, because essentially we wanted to look at our own roadmap as well. And the Swarm, like for example, there is a Swarm AI roadmap, and then I think we did a huge leap in getting to the point where we do some implementations and we prove that it actually will work in a real life scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. We wanted to somewhat direct the focus of the participants to build things that we want to see some progress on. And I think this worked out. And I wanted to thank Andres and the rest of the organizer team as well. That you guys did a really good job, and thank you for making this event happening. And also big thank you to the participants that enabled all this great progress. Andres, I wanted to ask a quick question about was it difficult to keep the different project ideas on track, because there were a lot of projects proposed?
Yes, so the interesting thing, there was some overlaps, but we tried to find those overlaps and then merge them, suggest to the teams that maybe they can merge together and then essentially work on the same ideas. And of course, like multiple viewpoints are stronger together. So where there was an option to merge ideas, we suggested to get those merged. And and those teams actually were very strong as well in the end. So I think the different viewpoints working towards the same goals were really helping here. So so I think all the projects in the end were really worthy of working on.
Yeah, thanks, Andres. I wanted to highlight a couple more projects that I think that are super great. Like one of them is the blockchain data support of Swarm that kind of connects us to the origin story that has not been fully realized, but the guys made some really good progress on that as well. And one of my favorite ideas is the Freedom browser, or as I like to put it, the new internet, which Swarm supports greatly, and there has been some improvement there as well. And I'm hoping that we will looking into a near future where people will be hosting their content in a decentralized way using Swarm. And yeah, I'd like to see more.
Definitely. I'm also very excited about this. And I'm very happy to have both Meinhard and Florian with us in the call. But before we give the stage to them, I would like to bring to stage actually Andrei, because Andrei was working with the team that came up with a proof of concept for a secure monetizing data marketplace for AI agents and humans, but AI agents and humans, utilizing the X402 for payment and the ERC 8004 for permanent agent identity. So this system, from what I gathered, also relies on this granular access control for gated data access, and obviously on Swarm for data storage, resulting in a truly and fully decentralized marketplace. We'll need to unpack this, but I hope Andrei will kind of lead us through the unpacking. Can we hear you, Andrei?
Hey, thank you, Mina. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Yes.
So we're talking about a more agent-oriented solution here, right? And you were exploring what it would be like to buy and sell data on Swarm through agents. And so what kind of felt most important to prove during this hack week to you? The payment flow or the access control? I mean, this granular giving access or taking it away, or the idea that agents can use Swarm as a native exchange layer?
Thank you for the question. So yeah, I think definitely all played a part. And the honest answer is that all were entangled. And what most for us to prove is that we can use Swarm as a native exchange layer. So the payment flow and access control you mentioned were load-bearing components for the proof, but not the goals in themselves, right? So the access control or ACT already existed and worked. But we were more trying to test whether you could wire all the components, the payment X402 server, the on-chain identity ERC 8000, and unite them with feed and storage primitives in a way that basically closes the loop autonomous. So no human needed to authorize a payment or unlock a file. For the identity layer, the MCP tools and the graph agents, the reputation model. So all of this, none of this would make the exchange loop itself didn't. So that was our main goal. But we already also had the big takeaway regarding Swarm as infrastructure is that access control is really, really powerful. So it indeed gives you like fine-grained cryptographic data layer access control, which was exactly what we needed for a permissionless data marketplace. And definitely a takeaway is that better tooling will need to be developed around the access control for accessibility, basically, for integrating.
So like
apps.
the bigger kind of unlock here is not just AI on Swarm, because it sounds good, but making Swarm legible enough for software agents to use as an operational environment, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we have used the Swarm MCP, which basically demonstrates the distinction between something that's legible and something that is hard to access. So the MCP isn't just a convenience wrapper; it's like a translation layer between the storage primitives that I mentioned earlier, Swarm storage primitives, and the way agents through natural language reason about operations. And without something like Swarm MCP, an agent will need to understand postage stamp economics, deferred upload thresholds, feed topic derivation, etc., which might not be hard topics for a developer reading the BAPI docs to grapple with, but might be hard to reason for LLMs when you prompt them with tasks like please publish this data set. So the MCP reframes the Swarm's capability in terms of intentions rather than raw mechanisms at the infrastructure level. So the agent doesn't need to know what the postage stamp is. The MCP handles the assignment, tracks upload progress via tag IDs, and abstracts the deferred versus synchronous uploads behind the single call, basically. So this was really powerful for us.
So this kind of suggests that, oh, yeah, go ahead, Sandor, please.
Sorry, yeah, I just wanted to make sure we understand. So, Andre, if I understand correctly, then if I have an agent, an AI agent, then it can go to the marketplace, search for some verifiable source that provides the necessary data that I want or my agent wants, and it can autonomously purchase it, right?
So that's the long-term goal. So yes, indeed, basically each agent has an on-chain identity, an NFT, and the token URI points to the agent card that lives on Swarm and has several items like the name, description, image, and what's most important for us is are the services. So there's an endpoint for X402 payment server. So each agent provides its own server URL and the Swarm URL, and that Swarm URL basically is a immutable feed. It's a feed with that particular agent's catalog. So in a discovery phase, an agent could go through multiple agents, could have something like OntoDAG to do some form of semantics to find what they're looking for. So they'll go through the agent's catalogs, they would parse them, and they would identify something they need. They would have a goal and would purchase that particular thing by accessing the X402 endpoint server. So that's the long-term goal for the, let's say, POC level. For Hackweek, it was more a manual process as far as the purchasing is concerned.
And I guess once my agent purchased the data, then it gets access to the selling party would grant access to the specific amount of data that was purchased.
Yeah, exactly. So the preliminary step is when an agent builds its catalog. So let's say it uploads some books they wrote, or the person's instructing the agents wrote. So they would upload it behind an access control, and the information will be encrypted. And when someone purchases that particular item, that particular data, they get added to the access list for that piece of information. So they will be granted access to decrypt it.
Cool. Thanks.
Awesome. I know, Andre, that you've prepared a really short demo of this, what you were just explaining, and maybe let's take a look at that demo right now.
Sure. Please let me know when you can see my screen. Is my screen visible, Mina? I think it is, right? Okay, so this is the agent dashboard. So this is what I mentioned. These are agents registered on chain. And this is a dashboard that basically queries the agents that have been added to the ERC 8004 identity registry by something we have added for these R agents. It's a Swarm AI capable metadata. So it queries them and basically aggregates them in a list. This one is interesting. This one I will show you. This is the name, banana image agent. Basically, it's a LangGraph agent that keeps uploading images, and it updates the metadata for the feed, so the catalog is updated. This is the description. It marks that it has Swarm capabilities. There's a service for Swarm, one for X402 for the payment service for the purchasing agents. And now let's go to its catalog. Yeah, so this is the catalog for that particular agent. You can see these are items that can be purchased. So this is basically the marketplace for that agent. These were generated images. You can buy them. This is one that was purchased earlier. And let me purchase a new one. So buy. So at this point, the X402 server for this agent was involved, and there was a payment being made of 0.01 USDC, I think. I can view. So I purchased with my, I purchased this image from the agent, from this one, and I was added, my node was added to the access list for this image. Let me download it. Yeah, and it was indeed open. Let me move it to this screen. Okay. Yeah, so basically I purchased this piece of data from this agent, and you can see here the on-chain transaction. Here. So 1 minute ago, there was a payment for 0.01 USDC. And another thing, so that was insofar the X402 functionality is concerned. This is the on-chain agent identity contract, the registry. You can see here, this is the ID for the agent, 5164. And you can access here, you can query the token URI, and this should point to the agent card. So everything that you saw in the marketplace comes from this card. Let me download it. Yeah, I have to open it with a notepad. Yeah, so this is the information. Basically, each agent that lives on chain has this information. This is the catalog. So what you saw in the catalog page. Yeah. If there are any questions, I can't hear right now.
I think we're back now. Sorry, when you did the presentation, you went, full screen, and I couldn't get in. If there are questions, I really encourage everybody to go to Swarm's Discord server and post them there, so we can move on, because there's so much to cover, and we won't even be covering everything. We just have some of the guests that were at the Hack Week presenting and kind of talking to us live today. The rest, I can already announce, will be present, and we'll talk more about their projects in the upcoming Swarm community calls. So now let's maybe move on and hear it from Andrew, who signed up to do Swarm subscriptions registry, but then renamed it to Swarm Volumes API. If I understand correctly, this actually was all introduced to manage unpredictable data expiry caused by Swarm's postage stamp system. So we kind of saw an autonomous keeper bot successfully topping up postage batches via a Sepolia deployed smart contract, Andrew, in your presentation. But can you maybe take us through that on a very simplest possible terms, high level explanation, so that our listeners can get an idea, or like what the vision was here?
Sure. Happy to. Yes. So at a very high level, the volume API stuff was to, basic idea was to bring recurring payments, sort of fire and forget model for acquiring capacity on Swarm. So the sort of core protocol, what it lets you do is specify how much money I'm going to put into a smart contract to reserve some gigabytes. And then that's going to tick down over time until it runs out, or you keep topping it up. When it runs out, your data is going to get garbage collected. Now, the issue with that is that the price is dynamic, which is kind of a necessity of the decentralized model. But that means that you don't know how fast that's going to be ticking down over time, and you don't know when the storage that you bought is going to expire. This is a big pain point if you're trying to use, and I personally experienced trying to use Swarm to deploy a decentralized website, because I know that I'm going to need to keep checking on this thing and making sure there's still enough money left in this thing and the website's not going to disappear. So the idea is just like flip that and make it so that you can just set a wallet somewhere with some money in it, and it's just going to get charged regularly to keep this this storage thing open basically until cancelled. Yeah.
I mean, there have been also other, I can recall from Discord reading about other attempts at doing this. I mean, there is a very good reason for this postage stamp system on top of Swarm, but everybody does agree that it is a bit of a pain point when you need to keep checking and, when does your batch expire and so on and so forth. But to many, this might, sound like a boring infrastructure problem, but is it actually super important what are actually like the implications of solving it? Because it sounds like the implications are far greater than it may seem when we start talking about payments and automatic topping up and stuff like that.
Right. Well, I guess there's two types of implications I would like to talk about. Like, the first thing is the surface level implication, which is like, this is a thing that was stopping at least one user, that is me, from using Swarm for a real application, but namely deploying a website. So, if you start removing these pain points, and this is like kind of usually, boring incremental pain points, and then people start using it. So, will this be enough? I guess I'll find out when I start really trying to use it with the Volumes API and see if I hit another blocker. But for now, it's going to make things a lot easier for me and probably for other users. So that's potentially, it depends on like how far down the list of pain points we are. We don't really know until we've finished, basically, until it suddenly becomes really easy.
Yeah.
The other thing is kind of a sort of meta implication about this sort of, I guess, this sort of incremental approach. Like there's lots of stuff, like this was not a particularly hard problem to solve. Somebody just had to sit down and decide to solve it. And there's probably lots and lots of problems like that. They don't need a breakthrough to be solved. They just need someone to decide to do reason through the boring, tedious work and get it all done in a nice, reusable way and make that available to everybody.
Yeah, definitely, because if this existed as a reusable layer, that would really change the game for people trying to build products on top of Swarm, right? So it would be like a largely tremendously useful for builders who are now running into this same obstacle in some way.
Yeah, potentially, yes. I mean, so this, like I said, the problem's not very difficult to solve, and any competent builder can probably build their own, like spin their own thing for their app. I'm sure many people trying to build on Swarm have done so. Does that mean it's not worth like providing something that out of the box solution? I think it is worth it, because it's just another annoying thing that might make builders say, oh, actually maybe this isn't for me. I can't be bothered to learn how to do this.
Yeah, you spare them quite a lot of time.
But when we do, we won't know whether it's like this is the big unlock until people start trying to use it and seeing whether that makes things easy enough to be practical yet.
Mm-hmm. So this is the kind of feature that end users may never notice ever directly. But there is one such thing that was built during the Hack Week. I mean, not just one, but we have here Manhart and Florian, who will cover the one that definitely end users will notice. And that's the decentralized mobile browser. So you guys successfully ported the peer-to-peer Freedom browser to native Android and iOS, finding the BeeLite client wrapper-based node stable as a system process. That sounds huge. I think you said in the demo that the biggest challenge was managing the load requirements of running a peer-to-peer node on mobile devices. But at the highest level, what does that change for the user? So what becomes possible once decentralized browsing is truly mobile? Do we hear Meinhard and Florian?
Sure.
Oh, yeah, here you are.
Yeah, so good to be on the call. Hi, everyone. So at the very high level, Swarm is kind of desktop and server focused so far, and most of the things you can do. And I think that's a real gap. So if you're on a mobile device, especially on an iPhone, you can't really enjoy anything of the decentralized nature that you have there. You can go through gateways, but that's kind of lame, we decided. So that was the original premise of Freedom Browser, to kind of have real decentralization, not just talk about it, but actually do it, and don't rely on gateways and centralized infrastructures where possible. So it's very possible with a Swarm node. So yeah, we run a Swarm node and we connect directly from the mobile to other mobiles or to other devices and other peers. And yeah, this can't be kind of shut off, and it's very censorship resistant, and yeah, quite reliant, we found. And yeah, now you can enjoy pure DWeb content on your mobile. So that's really the big breakthrough here, which I'm not aware of that it existed before. So yeah, it's really something that we can be quite proud of.
Definitely. And this is already like taking it a step further from where you already had it coming to Hack Week, which was just, after basically realizing that there is no native browser, you went into like just, sleeves up and did that. So, but now we're already moving to the mobile version, which is the super exciting part here. So what did Hack Week help clarify for you mostly? Like, are the main constraints technical, or is the bigger question how to make this kind of architecture feel lightweight and normal on mobile, or something else entirely?
So I will also let Florian speak on this, but so we split platforms that we worked on. So I worked on Android and Florian worked on iOS. So maybe you can say a few things about iOS. But on Android, it was pretty smooth sailing, because generally the Android operating system is more open, and it allows developers to do more things, not as tightly controlled. So there, it was actually pretty easy to get everything running. So even at the first night, in the first day of the hackathon, we had like a prototype running on Android, already serving websites through a local B node on the Android device. That was pretty amazing to see. That is actually not just possible, but actually very, very usable. And then we spent the rest of the week implementing features, porting different libraries left and right, and kind of wrapping things and almost getting it to a production level state. So yeah, maybe Florian wants to say a few things about iOS.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I think for iOS, the big breakthrough for us was to port the node to iOS, because for Android, as Meinhard said, there was basically the work already done. Somebody had, I don't know who it was, but thanks to that person, they had already effectively ported the node to Android. But for iOS, there wasn't anything. And so our assumption was, well, it's probably not possible. Otherwise, somebody would have done it. But then actually turns out that it was quite easy to take this existing sort of mobile version of the B node to bring that to iOS as well. And I was really surprised that on the first day we not only had an Android version working, but we also had some resemblance of a working version also on iOS. And so now, like a week after the hackathon, I've continued working on it, and it's a really solid app already. We have the ultralight version and the light version of the node running. I can push content to Swarm. I can read content to Swarm, everything from my iPhone. And that's quite mind-blowing to me, because it really makes it a lot more real, this idea of using the decentralized web if I can do it from my phone and not just from my super souped up desktop computer that can, of course, run all kinds of software.
I mean, absolutely. That's like a huge leap in terms. People are living over mobiles mostly. It's not like we're really. I mean, obviously, yeah, desktop is one thing, but definitely having it on mobile is just next level. And yeah, I know we hosted Nandi on the call. I think it was last month, just explaining in more details about this Light Note mobile on Android. So I think there are still on Discord, there are traces and links to kind of help you get to his work. But I also really look forward to sharing more of your work over our Discord, but also live. You are both coming to ETH Prague, right? So we can already start kind of guiding our listeners. If you'll be in Prague, do find us, do find MyHeart, do find Florian, because this is really bringing the whole thing to the so-called new internet level, having things work on mobile, having the native browser, which is a really, really important component, let's say, in the whole decentralized web stack. What's next coming from here for you?
Can I just quickly say, so we say new internet. In my thinking, so I'm pretty OG in the internet, so it's kind of the old internet as well, where everybody, I mean, the original idea was everybody's a publisher, right? So that's how we started. People built small websites. There was things like GeoCities, or like people had their own websites even hosted in their, in their bedroom on a server that was connected all the time through the local phone line or whatever. So that was kind of a commonplace compared to now. And then over the, almost decades now, quite significant centralization happened. And it's like, very, very big tech centric these days. And for me, in some way, it's the spirit, but also the technology is coming back to its roots. And so that's definitely one big inspiration that we got. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Meinhard. I just wanted to ask, how far are you from actually being able to serve decentralized content? So I can go and host my website on Swarm, and I don't want you to go to DNS and sort of centralized servers. How much work is it? When can we use that?
Florian, do you want to take this one?
Yeah, I mean, that's already what we do on desktop, and even for Android, we released an APK as an alpha version. You can just open the browser and type in meinhard.eth or vitalik.eth or whatever ETH address, or even just a direct Swarm hash, and it will resolve it straight up through the local node running on your machine and then serve you that content.
Awesome.
So it already works today, and we even built a little demo app called Swarmit, which is a Reddit clone, and it's a fully decentralized version of Reddit running entirely on Swarm and on Gnosis chain. So it uses Swarm for deploying the JavaScript and HTML assets and so on, and Gnosis chain as a sort of public bulletin board to announce new posts, and it just works. It's pretty mind-blowing. And I think in terms of what's next for us, we want to ship the mobile versions, obviously, so that we serve Windows, Linux, Mac, as well as iPhone and Android. So we're really everywhere that people use the internet. And we want to, and that's sort of reminiscent of 1993 when the Mosaic browser launched to make the web accessible. We want to also push content onto the DWeb. Because there's just not enough interesting things to do at the moment on the DWeb, on Swarm. And we have lots of ideas, and thanks to, vibe coding or AI engineering, it's quite straightforward to just build, a lot of the infrastructure that this new internet and old internet, as Meinhard says, needs to build that and provide that and make it a really seamless and enjoyable experience for people to use it.
Fantastic.
Definitely. And so it seems that actually with the AI tools getting like really advanced these days, I mean, this really has a tremendous effect of acceleration on that level. So something that, maybe a couple of years back sounded like, it would require half a year of, and I don't know how many developers to work on it, is now kind of like within the reach in a much shorter time span, which makes all the working so much more exciting. I think, Andrew, you also wanted to say something on that, or maybe we already, Andrew had to, Andrew is in Asia, it's very late at where he is. But I would like to bring Ata at this point on stage. Ata, are you here with us? Did you fall asleep or?
I'm wide awake,
we hear you.
Very hungry, but I can hear you quite well.
Okay, so you worked I mean, okay, let's call it a back to the future type of project, which can explore how Swarm and ENS can be used to support email communication through familiar standard email patterns rather than entirely new user behavior. Why? Can you share the motivation? As you said, there are people saying like, well, why would you want to work on email anyway?
Yeah. The community was, or at least I don't know about the community, but my peers, everybody seemed to be pretty split, bipolar sense about whether it was a good idea to do this or not. Some people thought it was quite strange to work on email. I myself, I'm horrible at responding to email, and I barely ever use it. I did manage to write down the things that I end up using some email for. Sometimes I have to deal with a company, and I get email like that. I have to submit my reimbursements via email, but also like email sometimes it acts as an identity. Did you see this pattern always coming up in multi-factor authentication? For example, the email would come up in the same as a peer to something like SMS or another way or another authentication system, right? So that's my reasoning for saying, okay, maybe we should do something about email. Some people were weirdly excited about it, though. For example, Yarko is a kernel maintainer. He's not on the call today, unfortunately, but he's a kernel maintainer. And it was very interesting to talk to him about this. And he said, basically, if you don't have email working with the supporting normal PGP and stuff like this, then no one will ever use it. And one thing that he was really stressing is that all of the Linux kernel development, even though you might see a kernel code or the kernel dev posted on a GitHub or something, the development is actually not happening there on GitHub. It's actually all done to this day via emailing patches inline into the email. I don't know how well known that tidbit is, but anyway, so yeah, that gives us an idea of like the spectrum of people thinking about email. And so also I came to email not because I was super interested in it. It's more like I looked for a low-hanging fruit. And we think about this uncloud idea quite a bit recently. I guess I should put the plug here that we'll have Chris and I and Pavel and guys will have this uncloud day in Prague. I think a lot of Swarm people will be there on the 7th. But anyway, so these uncloud ideas, basically slogan, if you ask me, it would be something like, let's decentralize the internet, the whole damn thing. So what does that even mean? What is the internet? And I think when Meinhardt said something about, he's like OG internet, and you think about what did these hyperscalers build upon? It was basically just a really small handful of protocols that were just there since the extremely early days of the internet. They used FTP, HTTP, and email is not a protocol. It's split up into SMTP and IMAP. So SMTP is one of the OG protocols of the internet, and forwarding messages around is a quite interesting thing to do, and it's really important. IMAP, interestingly, is where I think we first started really understanding that the internet becomes federated. In some sense, SMTP should be like the poster child of the decentralized internet before it became clouded. Right, the internet used to be quite decentralized. That's something a lot of people don't think about. It's when in the hyperscaler era, everything became clouds. Like email got clumped up into big gigantic Gmail and Hotmail providers and stuff like this. It's not so. Oftentimes, since we work on Swarm, we think about storage layers and things like this. But sometimes things are not just about the storage. And another reason why I wanted to do this as a low-hanging fruit was to really just explore this idea that, okay, I think we could do something in a normal way where the crypto and all this Web3 nonsense, abstract machinery is hidden, and we don't have to care about it. Somebody can open up their normal email client and just use email as they always did. So the interesting thing about it now is that since that stuff is hidden, or not since it's hidden, but and that it's hidden, what we have is essentially an email system that has no servers and doesn't rely on DNS. So it's unstoppable in the sense that it's censorship resistant and extremely robust. That's what I can say for now. If anybody wants to ask a question, go ahead.
Yeah, please go ahead. I don't need to be the only one asking questions, although I have to say that I'm very tempted. So, Arta, when will I be sending you emails in such a way?
Probably the next time you run into Chris or I think Chris will eagerly set you up with a. So the way that it works is a local bridge runs on your machine, just in the same way that for doing most Swarm things, there is a local B running on your machine. Yeah, so this is that same design pattern. It's we have a very thin local bridge, and your normal email client, whatever it is, whatever you've always been using your whole life or the past 3 months, will be able to plug right into it. So it's simply you set an email account up just like you were setting it up somewhere else, except you point it to your local host and the SMTP port. There you could put 2525 and then 4343 for the IMAP, and then it automatically handles everything for you and does the Swarm backend. So yeah, I think when will you be using it? Probably next time you see Chris, he'll probably forcefully install it for you.
Well, that would be on Friday, I have to say, or Thursday. Wait,
I look forward to receiving your. I can send you an email already. You can get it when you install it.
I have to say it's so super exciting to hear about these like actual usability coming into the whole Web3. I'm a non-tech person, and as much as I'm inspired and I really love the idea overall, but it's so much nicer or so much more hopeful when you see that these ideas and are coming to fruition on a level of users really being able to get something out of them, to really have an alternative that is not requiring them to basically get a PhD in computer sciences. So this is the Freedom Browser, the emails, and several of the other projects that we also heard or were presented during the Hack Week are all kind of aiming at exactly that, like just getting everything ready for this decentralized vision to become a reality on a end user level, which is super exciting, I have to say. Please, I just can't shut up, but if anybody has a question, do roll over me and just ask it. Otherwise, I do have on my list a announcement section that I want to go through. We already touched a bit upon it. So yes, we are all going to ETH Prague. Arta here, Meinhard, Florian, Shandor, me, many of the other Swarm team members, Solar Pump members. Yes, please go ahead.
Sorry, Mina. So there is one thing that we haven't touched upon yet. I wanted to mention one non-project improvement that came out of the hackathon. Abel, I'm not sure if the community knows him already. He made a great improvement in terms of the node startup time. Usually it took for a node to build up enough connections in about 40 seconds, but he brought it down to 5 seconds, which makes the in-browser client a much more plausible case going forward. This is great.
Wow, I didn't even know that. How could I miss? What, 5 seconds?
Yeah, because it was not an official project. He just worked on the corridor on this topic, and he shared it with me, but actually it was not present yet. So this is a great achievement that we should also publicize and show how he achieved it on one of the next community calls.
Definitely. That sounds amazing, I have to say, because this is also a huge part in the whole usability, stack. Let's call it that. Yes. So as I said, we are all looking forward to meeting in ETH Prague. We will have our team member Migle deliver a high-level talk on decentralization challenges there. We'll also have Victor presenting from free to fast, product tiers of decentralized storage. That's the title of the talk that he'll give. It will be a talk exploring how Swarm's protocol primitives and tooling can support different storage setups, from free self-hosting and caching to high availability, low latency delivery, and how this creates a practical path from Web2 style usage toward really fully decentralized infrastructure. Then on the 10th, Migle will also host a panel with our own Victor Tron, with Amir Taki, with Mario Havel, with Václav Pavlin, with Attila Gajo, who's also been in the team at Hack Weeks working on the, I think we mentioned it before, a project exploring what it would take to put Ethereum's historical data on Swarm in a way that it is actually usable. So I'm also looking forward to hear and let you hear more about that in our next community call, which is coming up obviously end of May. But back to the panel. And the panel guest will also be here present, Meinhard from the Freedom Browser team. And all together, they will be digging into the good, the bad, and the ugly of decentralization. Let's just keep it broad in a more direct format. And then that's not all. We'll also be present at the ETH Prague Hackathon with open bounties and mentors available to support teams working on Swarm-related challenges. Please, everybody going to ETH Prague to hack, do check their webpage, do check the challenges, the open bounties. This year's bounties, at least from our side, are focusing on making decentralized tech less in theory and more ship it. So verified fetching from gateways, a simple key value abstraction on top of Swarm, DAppNode package distribution via Swarm, and a proof of concept for storing and serving Ethereum chain data on Swarm. So this sounds similar to what Attila's team was working on, but it only sounds similar. It is not entirely similar. Anyhow, we also will have a booth throughout the event. You can find us there. We'll be listening to you. We'll help you understand where and how Swarm fits. But before ETH Prague, I would also like to invite you to attend an online workshop. This is part of our workshop series. This one is going to be held on the 5th of May. That's the coming Tuesday. And the title is How to Decentralize Any Front End. It's focused on very practical paths to putting front ends on Swarm. The session is not only aimed at builders who are, very advanced, but basically aimed at anybody who wants a clearer, less hand-wavy view of what decentralized hosting looks like in practice, from the simplest entry points to more self-sovereign setups. Aaron will be guiding you through it. It's very hands-on, and I couldn't recommend it more. I already actually saw it, haha. So that I can really personally recommend everybody to attend it. That's May 5th. Okay, while I was talking, did any of you guests maybe come up with a final, very important question for another participant here that you need to bring on the stage now live? Or shall we leave that to our in real life Prague gathering? Oh, the silence. Okay, in that case, I'll just invite everybody to join us here. I mean, obviously, find us in ETH Prague, but if you're not going to Prague, join us here in a month's time, not exactly a month's time, but on the last Thursday of the month. In May, that falls on the 28th. So 28th of May is the date for the next Swarm community call. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us. Take care. Let us proceed together apace.